Hi everyone, Charles from The Food People here. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. It's my great pleasure to welcome Jas Ayling, 2019 Masterchef Quarter Finalist, former Head of Innovation at Wagamama, and now most exciting of all, founder of Rendang Rice. Jas is here today to talk about what motivated her to branch out and open Rendang Rice, why this is so important to her, and how she's had to adapt and change in the short time that she's been open. So let's welcome Jas. Jas, thank you so much for joining me today as part of the Food People in Conversation with.
Thank you for having me, Charles.
No problem at all. At the Food People, we're very clear about why we do what we do. We're champions of change, driven every day by our intent to shift the future of food and drink by harnessing the power of trends. And in this In Conversation With series, it's all about talking to other people, businesses, brands, entrepreneurs, to find out more about why they do it, how in their way they're championing change and shifting the future of food and drink. Jas, it is a great pleasure to be speaking to you today. Can we start, if possible, with the last 9 months and the kind of COVID era that you've chosen to open a business, the kind of the highs and the lows, and have you turned this time into an opportunity?
Yeah, well, I think like a lot of people, it's been sort of peaks and troughs, and I think it's fair to say, yeah, there's been a few lows. So unfortunately, like, a lot of people, I lost my job at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I guess after the sort of initial shock subsided, I really relished the opportunity to be at home. I got back into cooking, sort of reconnected with things that I really love to do, went on some lovely long walks, and I sort of felt really lucky to have a bit of time. And then I think I kind of felt pressure to sort of apply for jobs. I don't want to say it was knee-jerk, but I thought, you know what, I need to just get back on, onto the job market, see what's out there. I had some really great conversations with people, but I kind of found myself getting a bit, not stressed, but a bit kind of bogged down in applying for jobs. And I guess I sort of was really lucky to, have a bit of headspace, do a lot of cooking. And that headspace sort of gave me a bit of clarity around sort of my purpose, what I really find joy in, and sort of reconnect with my ambitions. And I've wanted to start a business, a food business, for as long as I can remember, really. But I've always sort of had it in my head that would be sort of about 5 years away. It's like, no, I'm not going to do it yet. I need to, I need to be more stable. I need to have a bit more experience. And I just thought, what better time to start a business than in a global pandemic? So actually, having that time on my hands meant I was able to sort of plan. So I spent sort of a couple of months planning what I really wanted to set out to do. And just before the first lockdown, an eco market had opened in Camden, and I'm a Camden resident. And actually, whilst I avoid Camden High Street as a resident, it's that very reason I thought I want to get into a market in Camden, because of the hustle and the bustle. And it's, I wouldn't say it's where the street food scene necessarily started, but actually it's a vibrant, exciting place. The street food scene is really alive and prevalent there, and I thought I need to be part of this. And an eco market sort of really spoke to me through a connection I had at Wagamama. I'd actually met the author of £1 Meals, the guy behind £1 Meals, Miguel Barkley, who just opened a pizzeria in this market in Camden, in Buck Street Market. And I thought, it was actually my sister's idea to reach out to him and just say, look, can you just help connect me to someone in this market? And I've been applying to lots of different sort of outdoor markets, but actually this is the one that really spoke to me. And he introduced me, and I guess being an influencer, he used his influence and managed to get me get my foot in the door and have a conversation with the market owners. And they were like, actually, you know what, you're exactly what we're looking for. We want someone who has an idea that is in line with our sort of sustainability ethos, something new and exciting. And that's kind of where it all started. And that must have been back in August. And it's kind of been all go ever since. So that's kind of been my last 9 months in a nutshell.
You said you've said a couple of times that that the market, that you felt that it spoke to you. What can I just ask you what that is? What is that kind of connection? You thought, actually, I want to be a part of that. What is that?
So I'm still learning a lot about sustainability, but integrity of food, and doing good, and doing our sort of bit to be responsible and help the planet is something that's really important to me. And I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a pioneer, but I'm trying every day to learn more about ways to be more sustainable. And that is definitely at the forefront of Rendang Rice's purpose. So definitely part of the mission to be a sustainable brand and sustainable business.
Tell us a bit more about the market then. Is that is there a sustainability alignment between you and the market? Is that what the market is all about? Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So we're not allowed things like single-use plastics. All of the packaging has to be aligned to sort of their sustainability sort of regulations. So no single-use plastics. All the packaging needs to be sustainable. All of our oils are recycled and used for fuel.
With this kind of sustainability angle, it's clearly a part of the Rendang and Rice purpose. Do you find that that is more and more on the agenda of the people that are coming to buy from you? Are they consciously aware of that as a positive choice?
I think so, yeah. I think there are two sort of different customers, I think. So there are customers that are coming for the discovery of Indonesian food and a new sort of cuisine, if you like. But there are others that are aware. They are engaged with the fact that I have a big plant-based offering on the menu. They have an appreciation for the sustainability story behind the beef on the menu. Obviously, I'm a very small brand and I'm, just starting out, but actually I've had a few customers who have become sort of regulars, and I've seen them about 4 or 5 times already. And they are connected to the fact that I use high quality beef from small family run farms, and that's something that's aligned to their values around sustainability, and they feel sort of I guess they might be sort of conscious consumers, if you like, but it's something that I'm continuing to raise awareness around. And I think that in time it's definitely something that is going to be a driver for customers to come and visit me. So
can you tell us a bit more about, I guess, the founding inspiration? As you've touched on already, it's Indonesian street food, and I just have to ask you to,
So I guess it's a bit of a long story, but my mum is Dutch-Indonesian. That sort of eastern part of my family culture has kind of created a bit of a food obsession in my life. So my earliest sort of memories of food, sort of being a very young child, sitting around a big table at my grandma's house in Holland with my aunties and my mum, and I'd be meticulously chopping vegetables, and this is something I don't actually do, but chopping and tailing bean sprouts and things like that, and helping my grandma stir big pots of slow cooked dishes, and that sort of introduced me to food. And I guess they're my sort of earliest memories around food. And then as I grew up, and my mum was a single parent, and cooking home cooked high quality food was something that she would never compromise on, and that was really important to her, and something I didn't fully appreciate until I left home, so like lots of people. But we would be eating Indonesian food, as part of my sort of midweek after school meals. And there were times where I got a bit embarrassed about it. I'd have friends over and I thought, Mum, can we just have fish fingers and chips and eat normal food? And I'd be a bit embarrassed about the smells, all these fragrant smells coming from the kitchen and things. And then I left home and I thought, why can I not find this incredible food anywhere? I moved to London, huge buzzing food scene, yet I couldn't find any food that tasted like home. And I didn't really cook that food at home, but a big part of sort of Indonesian culture is for the women in the house to pass down recipes to female members of the house. So I've got a cookbook that has, it was one of the things I did as soon as I moved out of home. I was like, Mum, I need to record all of your recipes, and she's passed on all of my grandma and great grandma's recipes to me. Indonesian food is notoriously very labor intensive, and for two people, you know, it's hours of prep.
Yeah.
But then I think it's only in the past few years I've really reconnected with it. And I've been really lucky to eat at really nice restaurants and travel, but I still couldn't find that taste of home.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, I need to reconnect to this food because it's so special. And I did. And then my friends and my partner were eating it and they were like, well, I've never tasted anything like this before. It's just incredible. And people were like, you need to do something with this. And I knew it. I knew it was going to happen one day. And like I said, that was kind of the 5-year plan to open that Indonesian restaurant. But yeah, I thought I need to raise awareness of this food because it's hugely underrepresented in London and in the UK. And that is kind of my purpose, if you like, to raise awareness of this incredible cuisine.
When you talk about that with such passion and your kind of experiences of childhood, when you talk about Indonesian food, what is it about that? Are there just certain smells or associations, or what is it? Like
there's something called Bumbu, which is almost like like a curry paste almost. So it is the foundations of most of Indonesian dishes, recipes, and that is galangal, usually garlic, shallots, chili, and shrimp paste, maybe lime leaves. But it's very fragrant and it has a very unique sort of smell. It's very unique to Indonesian food. So I guess that is one thing that, it's very reminiscent of me.
That everyone has a slightly different recipe or different version of.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got one that's been, I guess, passed down through generations, which is obviously
correct. Yeah, and I think that's actually really important. When I talk about Indonesian food, this is my experience of Indonesian food. I've only actually been to Indonesia once, and I think I remember this from the Trend Summit last year, and it's something that really stuck with me. And it was Alex Wong talking about authenticity and how it's fluid and how it's impacted by your experiences and your family recipes. And I think that's really important. And I think people have an expectation around Indonesian food. And when they've come into Rendang Rice, a few people have said, oh, bao's not authentic, or my rendang is saucy and coconutty. But actually, this is my experience of Indonesian food. And it's, I mean, family, my family recipes, and to me, you can't really get any more authentic than that.
No, absolutely. Have you got the recipe book?
Yes.
To hand?
I do actually. I do. It's actually here because I've been looking at it for inspiration for menu development. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess.
That's all right.
But yeah, I have it here.
Amazing. That's brilliant.
And it's still growing. I'm constantly on WhatsApp to Mum asking for recipes, and I keep adding notes to it and making adding pages. So
how does those kind of experiences and the things you're just talking about, how do they manifest themselves on the menu at Rendang Rice?
So I guess I've had to keep the menu incredibly stripped back just because it's just me working on my own most of the time. I've dragged my little sister in to help me on busy days. But yeah, I had to be sort of very disciplined about what I put on the menu. And whilst I wanted to put an array of Indonesian dishes on, I just thought, you know what, rendang is a really special dish, and I just had a feeling that it would resonate really well here because we're a nation of curry lovers. Rendang has been voted sort of world's best dish globally. It has this huge reputation, but actually you don't really see it that often here. So that's sort of why I thought I need to lead with rendang, this amazing, incredible curry that is, it's also a really difficult dish to create at home. It's very labor intensive. So I thought actually this is something that people can't really just create on a weekday night very easily. So I wanted to give them sort of an experience that isn't necessarily easy to replicate at home. And then I thought I have to have sort of not the purest, but the traditional format of rendang rice on the menu. So steamed jasmine rice has been a staple in my household, in my family home anyway, you know, served with pretty much every single dish. So that had to feature. And then I've got rendang served with steamed jasmine rice with a bit of coconut, a sambal, which forms part of every Indonesian dish. So sambal is essentially I know you know what a sambal is, but it's a chili sauce, and it's used as a condiment in Indonesia. So there are hundreds of different iterations, and I use one that we use a lot in my family home. It's called sambal uluk. It's a very sort of commonly used sambal, and it's quite tart and sour, and that matches really nicely with rendang because it's a very rich and coconutty dish. So I use all of the traditional sort of methods and ingredients, and the only thing I don't do is grind the curry paste with a pestle and mortar, because it would take me probably about a week to make a portion of rendang. But that's sort of like the traditional sort of format, if you like. But then, because I guess I've been influenced by travel, eating out, I love food. I'm obsessed with food. I thought, how can I adopt sort of trends? How can I make this food sort of resonate with a wider audience, if you like? And I know people love bao. And we in Indonesia, we have a version of a bao. It's like an Indo-Chinese version of bao called bapao, and it's a whole steam bun with stewed pork inside. And I thought, how could I be a bit playful with rendang and actually serve it in sort of a handheld way that is going to really captivate people and you know, tap into some of those trends. So that's why you see a rendang bao on the menu. And then, well, my mum was very skeptical about the plant-based offering on the menu, but I knew I wanted to have a really big plant-based offering on the menu, and that was really, really important to me. So I worked really hard on a plant-based rendang, and initially I was just using subbing the meat for aubergine, and I kept testing it. I thought, this doesn't work. And I tried it with jackfruit, green beans, tofu, tempeh, and I wasn't getting the right sort of result from those things. So that's why you'll see a pulled king oyster mushroom and lentil rendang on the menu, which isn't traditional. But it gives that same sort of experience as the meat, because you get sort of the meaty mushrooms and the protein and body from lentils. So yeah, I guess I've kind of taken a lot of different influences. You can see that from the menu, and also I have to mention the dessert, because it's really playful. I was
about to ask you about dessert. First about the dessert.
So I guess people would look at that and think, well, that, and I've had a couple of comments, you know, where people have been like, well, that's not traditional and that's not sort of, you know, Indonesian, but actually that dessert has been inspired by a couple of things, really. So my grandma and I would love eating ice cream together. So some of my fondest memories are eating ice cream with my grandma. And another thing is tea time in Dutch community is very important. So afternoon tea and cake, or coffee and cake. So we would have coffee with condensed milk, which is very traditional in Indonesian culture and very, very unhealthy, but very delicious, with a Dutch-Indonesian layer cake. It's called 1,000 layer cake, or quella piece, or speckhoek. It has lots of different names. And it has all these incredible spices in that kind of are a bit like Biscoff or speculoos. So it has sort of nutmeg, cinnamon, cardamom, mace. It's just delicious. And I thought, I'm going to make an ice cream with these spices, because everyone loves ice cream. And because I have this simple menu, I thought, how else can I make this come to life? How can I be really playful? I believe that all desserts should bring joy and be a bit playful and nostalgic. So I thought, I need to make a donut. And it's something I tried to put on the Wagamama menu. So deep fried a bao, roll it in spiced sugar, and I fill it with homemade speculoos ice cream. I guess to make that sort of resonate with customers here, I know people love Biscoff, so I've topped it with a Biscoff biscuit to make it feel a bit more familiar. And that's the spiced Biscoff caramel bao. So I'm trying to sort of thread that Indonesian food and family recipe and stories throughout the menu, but make it feel relevant. And I think that's been really important to me when sort of developing the brand, is how can I make something very traditional and this family story stay sort of true and at the forefront, but actually make it relevant to now and a big audience. So
obviously it's been a pretty challenging time, obviously launching a business in a pandemic and then being forced to close down. How have you had to adapt? I mean, just in the last month, what how have you kind of kept the brand alive, kept it relevant, and kept connected with customers?
When there was news of a second lockdown sort of approaching, I panicked, because I'd applied to go onto sort of delivery platforms, and that was taking a very long time. And I thought, how am I going to keep, like you said, how do I keep the brand alive? And actually, I was walking to the market one day and I thought, how can I get my food into people's homes? And then I started thinking, wait, how can I get it into people's homes beyond London?
Yeah.
And there are friends and family outside of London who haven't been able to visit. I thought, how can I get these people tasting my food? So first I started exploring the idea of sort of jarring up my sambal and selling that. And then I thought, actually, no, what is it that people have enjoyed, during lockdown? And what is it that people have more of during lockdown? And that's obviously time and time to cook. And I'm one of those people who really, really enjoyed cooking during lockdown. So I thought, actually, why don't I take a bit of the hard work out of preparing a meal like rendang and actually develop a way that people can enjoy my food in the comfort of their own homes.
Yeah.
And actually feel like they're I guess learning something new and doing a bit of the cooking too. So I developed some recipe kits, which when I started, a couple of people just said, you're mad, because you're one person and it takes a lot of time and research to implement something like that. But I thought, you know what, I'm a little brand, I can get away with this. And so yeah, I've developed a kit that contains the spices, all the dry ingredients essentially, because I thought I can't do chilled deliveries because it's very expensive and there's a lot more regulation involved with that. So I thought, I'll give people the option too of having buying their own protein, and they can use whatever they want. And I've given some suggestions. So I've been sending out the spices, the aromats, sort of the ginger, garlic, lemongrass, and then coconut milk rice. Yeah. And the plant-based and the classic sort of version of that for people to recreate it at home. And honestly, it was far more popular than I thought it would be. The response has been really overwhelming, actually. And it was really hard work. So I sent my last box off yesterday out of, so that was the last one of all the orders that I've had. And I thought, oh, why am I doing this? There were times where I was, at the market really, really late putting these boxes together. But then seeing people's creations and seeing their versions of rendang and hearing people say, this has been, one of the best things I've eaten at home. Can't believe I was able to make something like this. It's completely new to me. I've never had rendang, and seeing their photos, it's just been incredibly rewarding. So yeah, that's kind of how I've kept busy over the past month.
The pictures look incredible as well, and you presented it absolutely beautifully as well.
Thank you, Charles. Yeah, that was really important to me. I want it to be an experience, and I want people to kind of get a sense of the brand in their own homes. That was really, really important to me. I guess my priority is giving those customers in the kiosk the best possible experience. And if I can do deliveries and also do recipe kits on top of that, then that's incredible. But I'm very ambitious, but I need to stay focused. I think that's my goal, is just to really stay focused.
Harness ambition with focus.
Exactly. Yes, that'll be my mantra. Thank you, Charles.
When do you hope to be able to satisfy everybody, those that are craving that demand for rendang and rice? When are you going to be able to reopen?
So I'm hoping to open next week. So back on Wednesday the 2nd. We're really lucky because we are an outdoor market. Yeah. And we're almost kind of street food sort of vendors. So yeah, we're really lucky to be able to reopen.
Yeah. Is that how you describe what you do? Are you Indonesian street food? Is that how you would kind of coin what you do? Or tell me if not.
I've actually found it really difficult to articulate what it is, because I'm kind of in between being a street food trader and a little takeaway restaurant. And actually, I had a conversation with my mum about this. And in Holland, there's a huge Indonesian community, and you'll find a lot of they're called tokos. So they're kind of like Indonesian little supermarkets and delis. So they sell sort of specialist Indonesian ingredients, but also Indonesian food and street food and snacks. And I kind of think, my mum thinks anyway, it's a great idea that I kind of brand myself as a little toko. Yeah, it's difficult to articulate what it is, because it's almost like it's a shipping container, and it's the little takeaway concept. So yeah, let's call it Indonesian street food.
How do you spell it?
Toko, Toko.
Oh, very, very easy. I love it. Indonesian.
Exactly.
Fantastic. What just, I guess, and this will come into your inspiration in the first way. I just wanted to ask you, you've got such a diverse range of experiences that have got you to this point. What are some of the kind of bigger, I guess, challenges and opportunities that you see in food and drink, and how, I suppose, in a Rendang and Rice way, you were kind of trying to do your bit?
I don't know, where do I start on challenges? There's lots and lots of challenges that we're facing at the moment. So I think one of the biggest ones is consumer confidence. I think that's a real challenge in hospitality anyway, retail. And I guess there are other sort of direct sort of consequences of the pandemic, and possibly, depending on the trade deal we get with Brexit, there's going to be challenges with the supply chain. And there are things I'm already sort of experiencing when it comes to some of those specialist ingredients. I'm finding them quite difficult to get hold of. But actually, I think there are real opportunities in that, So just on those two, I guess, making sure that Rendang and Rice is offering sort of discovery and a treat for people, and high quality, so that when people do choose to come out, I can offer them something that is special and unique and high quality, but inclusive and affordable. So that's sort of one thing that I will continue to champion and continue to do. And then when it comes to sort of supply chain and sourcing ingredients, there's a couple of things really. One is I'll need to challenge myself to use maybe different ingredients and local ingredients, where I wouldn't usually. And that's something that actually really excites me, and it kind of sparks a bit of creativity. So there might be, might be galangal or something that I'm not able to source, but actually what is the equivalent that I can get locally, and how do I support local businesses? So that's something that really excites me. And then I'm in Camden, this is very personal to my situation, we're really reliant on tourism. So that's, for me personally, going to be, a really big challenge of how do I drive people to Rendang and Rice, or how do I get it into people's homes, or whatever it is. So I'm going to continue to adapt and get creative. Out of all of the sort of the bad outputs of this pandemic and the challenges, there are real opportunities, I think people are being forced to sort of think more local and shop smaller. So consumers are hopefully going to be supporting communities and local. But then from a business perspective, I think we've got a huge opportunity to be doing more good and supporting smaller suppliers, supporting local suppliers, doing good to help communities. That's something that I'm really passionate about, and I want to continue to explore. Sustainability, and when I talk sustainability, I mean in terms of the environment, and I think this pandemic is just one example of, or a reminder, if you like, of how fragile the planet is. And I think that well, I personally, but actually the food industry has a huge opportunity to kind of be the pioneers in changing the way people eat, changing the way people consume, and actually developing more flexible options. I don't just want to say plant-based or narrow it down to veganism, because actually if we can just encourage people to flex their diet, I think that's going to really help, and eat more sort of a diverse diet. I think people are going to be continuing to eat more at home, so whether that's through delivery or like the recipe kits, I think that's not going to go anywhere. And people are going to be working from home more, so yeah, that's where I guess brands will need to sort of adapt and think about how their format works at home.
Jas, it's been absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that from my point of view, I'm glad we've been locked down, because that's meant I've been able to talk to you, because otherwise you'd have been in the kitchen and we wouldn't have been able to speak to you. So that's definitely one outside of lockdown 2.0. And so it's been a real pleasure to speak to you today.
Thank you, Charles. It's been great to chat.
So that concludes this episode of The Food People in Conversation with Jas. On behalf of us all at The Food People and all of the In Conversation with audience, thank you so much for joining me today. You've given us fascinating insight into what's inspired you, some wonderful new terms. Toko is definitely one we should take out. It's a great insight into how in your way you're championing change and shifting the future of food and drink. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you. Thanks, Jas.
Thank you, Charles.
So do join our TFP community for all the details of our latest In Conversation with episodes, as well as all the latest free to access food and drink trends foresight. Visit thefoodpeople.co.uk and complete your details at the footer of the page. On behalf of Jas and myself, thanks for listening to The Food People in Conversation with, and I just leave you with one question: how are you shifting the future of food and drink?